It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
So what I love, Brian, is we've kind of talked you through, okay, here's some things to look at, here's some things to keep an eye on. But by the way, these aren't exactly things that could protect you. There's something to be aware of, something to look at.
Pay attention to them.
Why don't we shift now and talk about if you are worried about inflation, and if you do think that that's something that could be an issue for you or your portfolio moving forward, what are some of the things that you could use to protect you? What are some of the hedges that could be in place to protect you in the event that we did see inflation moving forward?
So these are what we would call investable inflation hedges.
That's exactly right.
So the first one, you guys are going to like this one too, is we threw in real estate. This is probably, I call the lowest lying fruit, is because this is one of the key benefits to real estate is that, you know, we obviously know there's a limited supply. There's not making more unless you live next to a volcano, and that's probably a pretty scary place to get more real estate made next to you. But real estate does go up with inflation, and owning a home is a great way to protect yourself. But I think there's even easier ways. We like to talk about REITs. I mean, you could look, you could own rental property, you can do commercial property, but if you just want the easy way, I mean, you can just do REITs, and we even have some research to show you what does that look like from a historical standpoint.
Yeah, we went and looked at the investment returns of real estate relative to inflation from 1972, you know, pre-hyperinflation, all the way through the end of 2020. And what's interesting, this shows every year, if you're out there on iTunes or iHeartRadio, we actually have a graph that shows every year annualized what the return was on real estate and then what inflation measured that year. So from 1972 all the way through 2020, inflation averaged about 3.9% per year. That's the average rate of inflation we saw over that roughly, 50-year time period. Real estate, on the other hand, actually had returns of 9.2% annually. So the price of goods rose by about 4%. However, if you were invested in real estate, the value of your dollar actually rose by about 9%.
When you look at this visual that we've created here, and for those that are out there in the podcast world listening to it, this thing looks like an EKG with the real estate doing way above inflation in years, and then there's about 5 years over this 50-year period that actually real estate just took a nosedive. It was very volatile. Those are those down markets that you see with real estate from time to time. So a lot of you looking at this visual will be confused. You'll be like, well, is this actually good? Because based upon this, it looks like that inflation is much more stable, whereas real estate is all over the place. And that's, by the way, that's like any investing. We always talk about the walk up the mountain with the yo-yo. Every year that you're a diversified investor, you will have some form of volatility, but your goal is to capture enough good years, because there's definitely, remember, 80% of the time you're going to make money 8 out of 10 years. 2 years is typically out of every decade. There's going to be down years. This kind of fits to the T if you think about that. You know, we've got 5 where we went below 0, approximately a 50-year period. This is even better than average of 1 out of every 10 years. But if you bring it and actually stack in what you get to keep each year above and beyond, the separation is huge.
Yeah, so what you can see is the value of a dollar invested or the value of a dollar eroded by inflation. It's really interesting. So if you had a dollar in 1972, over the course of the 50-year period, it's going to lose about 4% of purchasing power per year. However, your investment in real estate gains about 9% per year. So what you get to keep in terms of real purchasing power is the differential. So the value of your dollar, even with inflation happening, increases about 5% per year by utilizing real estate as an investment.
But I think this is a great life lesson too on it's okay to have some risk on assets that will outperform inflation because you get rewarded for that in the long term. The separation from 1972 through 2020 between inflation and what real estate has done is substantial when you look at it from a visual standpoint. So we think that kind of is the aha moment. Real estate will be something that can serve you well if you're concerned. REITs are the easiest way to get in. You can do it through ETFs. You can do it through a Vanguard, a Fidelity. Great way to play it.